All right, tonight we are opening up an investigative file on a case that is, without a doubt, one of the most famous in modern paranormal history. We're talking, of course, about the Annabelle doll. We're going to break down the evidence piece by piece, exactly as it was reported.
So, let's get right into it. Our investigation begins with Case File 70A. The subject is the Annabelle doll, and the year this all kicked off was 1970. The way this case unfolds is really in 4 clear stages. It all starts with something as simple as a gift, but that quickly escalates into some really strange activity. From there, it moves into violent physical contact, before finally reaching its chilling conclusion.
Okay, first things first. Before we dive into the events, let's establish who we're talking about here. The key players in this story, both the people and the object at the very center of it all.
So, at the heart of this whole thing, you got 2 roommates. Donna, who was a nursing student, received this antique doll as a gift from her mom. And her roommate Angie, she's the one who would become the main corroborating witness to the bizarre events that were about to unfold.
And this is where things really start to get weird. We're moving into the first concrete signs of trouble, starting with movements that just couldn't be explained, and some very mysterious messages.
It started off pretty subtly. The very first thing Donna and Angie noticed was the doll, well, it was moving by itself. They'd leave it on a bed, go to their classes, and when they came back, it would be sitting on the sofa, and they had no idea how it got there.
But yeah, it didn't stay subtle for long. Things escalated and fast. Donna claims she actually saw the doll turn its head. Then, these little scraps of parchment paper started showing up around their apartment, with handwritten pleas like, "Help me." But the real kicker? They started finding what looked for all the world like blood on the doll's face and hair.
So, as you can imagine, they were completely freaked out and knew they needed some answers. Their search led them to make their first real attempt at contact, which gave them the first working theory of what was going on.
They brought in a medium, held a seance, and they reportedly made contact with a spirit. And that spirit told them, quote, "I am the spirit of a 7-year-old girl named Annabelle Higgins. I feel safe with you."
And, well, this is what they came up with. Their initial theory was that the doll was being inhabited by the spirit of this little girl who had died nearby. They felt sorry for her, and, believing they were helping a lost child, Donna and Angie actually gave the spirit permission to stay. As we'll see, this turned out to be a huge, huge mistake.
And why was it a mistake? Because almost right after they gave that permission, the activity turned violent. Which brings us to the physical assault on their friend, a man named Lou.
This, right here, is the real turning point in the case. Now, Lou had always been suspicious of the doll. He didn't like it from the start. So what happened when this entity finally decided to confront him head-on?
According to Lou's own testimony, the first attack was just terrifying. He said he woke up totally paralyzed, couldn't move a muscle. Then he heard a child laughing, and suddenly the doll was just on his chest, and he felt hands wrapping around his throat, choking him before he blacked out.
And if you think that was the end of it, nope. The entity wasn't finished with Lou. There was a second assault, and this one was even more violent, and this time, it was going to leave physical proof.
So during this second incident, Lou and Angie heard a loud crash coming from Donna's room. Lou went in to investigate, and then he just cried out in pain. When he lifted up his shirt, both he and Angie saw these bleeding gashes across his chest. They looked like rake marks, like he'd been clawed by something, and there was absolutely nothing in the room that could have caused those injuries.
Okay, so after a physical attack that leaves actual wounds, yeah, they knew this was way beyond their control. They finally reached out to paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, which brings us to the expert analysis and the final phase of this case.
And the Warrens, they come in and just blow that first theory right out of the water. They said this was absolutely not the spirit of a harmless little girl looking for comfort. No way. Their assessment was that it was an inhuman, demonic entity, and it was manipulating everyone. And its ultimate goal? To possess a human host. And its target was Donna.
So, to be absolutely clear, the final conclusion of the investigation was this. The spirit of Annabelle Higgins never existed. It was all a masquerade, a lie cooked up by a malevolent force just to gain their trust and get a foothold in their lives.
Once they had this new assessment, the Warrens moved fast. An exorcism was performed on the apartment to cleanse it, and they removed the doll itself for permanent containment. And the moment that doll was gone, all the paranormal activity in the apartment just stopped. For good.
So, the case file is stamped closed.
But the evidence laid out here leaves us with a really fundamental and honestly a pretty disturbing question. Can something as innocent as a child's toy really become a channel, a conduit, for something truly evil?